You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
They say your network is your net worth, but how do we help improve our networking skills? With us today is Michael Forman with the Forman Group LLC. He is a corporate speaker, and we'll be uncovering the why on why our results are not exactly what they need, breaking the ice, traction troubles, and building rapport 101. Michael, thanks so much for joining us. How are you today?
My pleasure to be here. And I'm just very thankful that I'm here ready to tell your audience about network.
I love it because this is something that is so important, even from a marketer myself, the importance of building relationships. But we want to know, what was your entrepreneurial journey like? What were you doing before? Give us a brief history about your background and then tell us what you're doing today.
It started when in my 20s, when I was in the Air Force. I was in the Air Force for 9 years. I was a policeman, but I had to learn how to instruct people that were older than I was what to do. I was higher ranked, but you have to handle that a really certain way. So that kind of led me on my way. And from there, I owned pizzerias, restaurants. I was in the mortgage industry. I created two networking weekly groups, one in New York, one in New Jersey. So that was really fun. And then I worked for a law firm as a sales director, where I did the marketing, the sales, and everything else. And everything brought me around to where I am today. And, I've been speaking for 10 or 12 years and on and off stages, but I didn't do it full time. But about a year ago, I said, you know what? Enough's enough. I left all my business and I went full time.
Congratulations. That's amazing. I know it's always a challenge to take that leap into the unknown when you've been in maybe a corporate setting or getting a steady paycheck for so long, but it's always a challenge. And for business owners out there, I think, a lot of them are struggling. They're not sure what the next step to take is. They lack some direction or clarity. How does networking play a role into that? Can you go into why networking is going to be so important and then what we can do to yield results?
Networking really has changed within the last 5 years or so. And because you're building relationships, you're not really building clients. Whereas before, 5, 10 years ago, you get a client, you got the sale, you're going to move on to the next one, and you're going to keep doing that. But now it's a little different because you're really out there to build relationships. And you know as well as I do that if you build a relationship, it's going to last for years and years to come. A client, do the sale, it's over, maybe they'll order again. And I always say that if you're walking in a supermarket and you walk past a client, you say, hey, how you doing? And you keep on walking. But if you build that relationship, you stop. You ask, how's the wife? How's your child? How's he doing in soccer practice? And then you move forward. Okay. So there's a whole lot more that goes into it. And I want to tell you that really ever since the pandemic, I think people lost their minds because they forgot how to network. They forgot how to communicate. And it's so important. And the 20 somethings or even 30 somethings, A, never learned how to do it. B, kind of know it, but don't want to do it. The 40, 50, 60s, they know what they're doing, but they decided not to, and they're going to do it their own way. That's really the only thing.
So now we have these competing demographics who are like, we know what we're doing, we don't, and yet we want to connect and we don't want to connect. But definitely things have changed post-COVID when it comes to business relationships and communication is that foundation to communicating ideas and getting what we want and need in exchange of value. How do we go about breaking the ice even? I know some lack confidence to even want to do that, but what are the first steps to kind of getting started into leveraging our network?
Okay. So there's a difference between introverts and extroverts. Okay. I'm going to leave the introverts out because I do have a way for introverts to become introduced to the networking atmosphere. So running you're an extrovert, you have to be confident in what you're doing. Okay. If you're going to go to a networking event, you have to do a little homework. Now you're confident in what you're selling. You're selling a good service, product, whatever it is. They always give a map that you're good of tables and things. So you figure out the tables you want to go to, the people you want to see, and kind of store that in your memory. Well, when you walk into this networking event, what do you see? Tables and tables and tables of people. So it would really scare the heck out of the introvert, and he's gone. Okay. The extrovert, and really what you're going to do is you're going to walk up to the table. You're not going to talk. Okay. First mistake, you talk. Okay. So you're going to walk up. You're not going to talk. You're going to listen for the conversation. Can you be an active participant in this conversation? Well, no, I can't. Wait, I'm going to wait for the next conversation. Nope, I can't do that one either. You're going to politely, you haven't said anything to anybody, politely bow out and go to the next table. Okay. But let's say that you do, and you wanted to inject some little tidbit that you have of that conversation. So you say something, and then maybe somebody's going to ask you a question about it. Okay. So now let's say there are 5 people at this table, and 2 of them have zeroed in on you. So what's the first thing you do? Eye contact. Okay. You have to have good eye contact and shake their hand like you mean it, not like the dead fish. You're going to shake their hand firmly. And then what are you going to do? You're going to ask them what they do. You're not going to say anything. Okay. I haven't told you my name, what I do, or anything like that. Right. And you ask them what they do. So you went past the eye contact, the handshaking. Now you're on to the building of the rapport. So remember the mantra. If they know you, if they like you and trust you, they're going to do business with you. You have to have all 3. Okay. So you're asking them, you're seeing what they do for a living. Okay. You're listening. Don't just hear what they say. Listen to what they say. Don't think about the next thing that you're going to say, because otherwise you can't listen to what he's saying. So you listen. Okay. When he finishes, here's the important part. Pause. Don't just come out and blurt something, because what does that mean? You weren't listening. You weren't listening to what he said. And all of this has an effect on people. Okay. So if we're talking and I'm telling you something and you immediately come out with something else, I know that you're not listening to me. And that goes against breaking down that barrier. So let's say, Shara made it. Okay. I'm listening to you and I asked you some questions. Now, you would think this is the time for me to introduce myself and what I do. Wrong. The first thing you have to remember, you're there to give, not to get. Give, not to get. So you're going to ask them, you know something? I really like what you do. I really like the way you're doing it. How can I be the best referral source for you? How can I be the best representative for you? Because I usually blows them back. It's like, really? And then you start talking. So then he'll ask you, well, what do you do? So now you have to identify the problem, whatever problem it may be, and you have to come up with a solution. So you have to have that. So all this time you haven't said anything, but you've been thinking about this. So you tell them what you do. Now, you heard of the 30-second elevator speech. Everybody heard of the 30-second elevator speech. They're full of baloney. Okay. The 30-second elevator speech is 5 seconds. Why? What's the purpose of a 30-second elevator speech? To get them to ask you a question. So if you come out with a 30-second elevator speech like it's rehearsed, that's going to turn them off. Okay. I help professionals network and communicate more effectively and efficiently. They usually conjure just up enough to say, well, can you tell me about it? And that's what I'm waiting for. So let's say you finish that, you really hit it off with this person. You say, that's great. Can I have your business card? Follow up with you and everything else. On the back of the business card, write down the date, write down the name of the event, and write down something you spoke about. Because in 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to look at that card and go, who is this? Okay. And it's all going to go into the follow-up, but that's for afterwards. And then you're going to move on to something else. That's basically the gist of main steps. That's actually 6. Follow-up is really 7. But we'll get to that later.
And some great tips and advice here because I feel like, just like you mentioned, you have your introverts and your extroverts. The extroverts are a little more open to going into these unknown places and making conversation. But where we fall short is we focus on the sales. We're focusing on talking and we're trying to push a message onto people rather than listen and understand and naturally build a relationship and rapport and then build from there. Specifically, you said exchange value, give them more than you're going to get in the form of how can I be a referral source for you? How can I help you in your journey? Which, like you said, blows people back. You're like, well, I didn't expect this. It surprises them.
Yeah, you never go to a networking event expecting to sell anything or give services. Just don't. You are going there to be a great referral source for everybody that you meet. It will, in turn, come back around to you, but you have to do it correctly, properly, and effectively.
Absolutely. A few of the examples you shared were more in person networking events, but post COVID, it seems there's been a focus more on virtual events. Can those still be effective for building relationships? Where are some places people should be looking to start creating those conversations and building relationships?
Well, you would think that after COVID, the in person networking events were few and far between. But I'm here to tell you it's not. It's just as viable as the Zoom calls that everybody's on. And there's enough networking meet. Now I'm talking about chambers of commerce, small networking events, big conferences. You can go every week if you wanted to. And my suggestion is to put it on your calendar at least every other week to keep, because the only way you're going to spread your brand, spread the way that you do it better than anybody, or at least your customer service better than anybody. The only way to promote that is to go out there and physically promote it, not emails, not snail mail, not everything else, because you know as well as I do, when you get something in the mail, they're going to halfway look at it and throw it out. Emails, you get 150 emails a day. Nothing can replace that in-person meeting. Now, Zoom calls, yes, they're effective. That's after a little bit of prep work of knowing your audience, knowing who's going to come in, and knowing what you're going to do. So it's a little different, but nothing can replace the in-person networking.
Absolutely. The in person aspect, there's so much energy. There's aura and just nonverbal communication that happens that we can't always dissect or disseminate through a Zoom call or even a phone call. And for those who can't make in person events, you can still do some networking. It just changes the dynamics a little bit. For those who are building relationships now, but they're struggling to get traction, they can't get over that hurdle. What are some of the traction troubles that you've seen people run into, and how can we overcome them?
You have to be the right type of person, because if you're in sales, really, if you're in outside sales, you have to be that extrovert. You could be an inside salesperson and be an introvert. But if you want to be that introvert that want into networking, then that creates a whole nother ball of wax. But you're going to have pitfalls. Okay. It's the way that a person dresses. It's a way that the person approaches you. Like I said, eye contact, handshake, confidence. Okay. If you're confident in what you're doing, if you're humorous in what you're doing, okay, a little humor, because it goes a long way. I I consider myself a funny person. Okay. If you're not funny, listen, very important, don't do it. Because if you're not funny, if you're forcing a joke out, people can tell. And it's like, well, he's really trying, but it's really not working. So, just be confident, be present. The number one pitfall, I'll tell you right now, and it's a big problem with the 20 somethings and 30 somethings. Wait, where is it? Here it is. Cell phone. Okay. Make sure that cell phone is off, in your pocket and away, because if that cell phone goes off and you do anything, even just to silence it, you're not paying attention to the person you're talking to, and they'll pick up on it. It's the little things that you do that you have to be present. You have to give your 100%. You're there always. And if you show that you are there and listening, not hearing, but truly listening, then you'll get the same respect. And speaking of respect, you give the janitor the same respect that you would a CEO. You don't know how they got there, why they're there, or if they love their job, if they hate their job, doesn't matter. Be a good person. It's another human being. So be courteous, be polite, and ask where you're going. It's always better to be courteous and polite.
Absolutely. I think people really connect with and love to see the true authentic self. So anything you mentioned about, wisecracks or jokes or trying to build that conversation or relationship, just be authentic, be a nice person, a good person. And it's funny how many people don't understand that yet. But you mentioned technology and that distraction piece. Well, when can technology be helpful? I mean, we're only one person, one business owner. We want to connect and network with as many people as we want. Are there things we can or should be automating or using technology to help us, stay top of mind and connect with people when we're just a solopreneur? We can only be in one place at one time. Can technology help us in our networking?
Absolutely. But technology will be the end of what I'm about to tell you. Okay. Because let me first go through the follow up. You're going to go to this networking event. You either spent money or didn't spend money, or taking 3, 4, 5 hours out of your day. So your follow up is going to be just as important as meeting. You have 15 business cards, okay, you're going to follow up with. Now, you've already written the date, the name of the function, and what you spoke about under each of these cards. So that helped you immediately. So as soon as you go back to your office or home that night, now I've had a lot of people tell me, oh, I'm too tired at night. I'll wait till the next morning and everything else. That's fine, because if I go to the same network event that you do, they're going to get my email first. The early bird catches the worm. So I'm going to send an email. I'm going to say, hey, Chris, I met you on such and such date with such an event. Thank you very much for the opportunity to meet you. I look forward to meeting you again, Mike. Now, what did I say? What I did, when I want to meet you, where I want to meet you, nothing like that. It was just a thank you. Now, the next morning, when everybody's writing their first emails, you're doing something else. You're writing a handwritten thank you note, saying almost the same thing. Hey, Chris, how you doing? I met you on such a date, such a time. We spoke about your son, Johnny. He was playing soccer. I'm sorry to hear about his ankle. I hope he gets better soon. I want to meet you for coffee, Mike. So now what do? I just introduced that coffee. So now I'm going to give him about 3 days to get that. If he hasn't responded yet, which I'm only at about 70%, 75% of the people, there could be 1,000 reasons. He was on vacation again, or he had an emergency, or business was overload. I don't know, something. But you're going to write that the third email about 3 days later. Hey, Chris, how you doing? This is Mike. Remember me? I met you on such a date, such time. We spoke about your son, da, 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 da. I want to meet you for coffee. I just looked at my schedule next week. I'm open Tuesday or Wednesday. How's Tuesday and Sunday? Okay. So now you just upped it from 75% to about 90%. Now, positively or negatively, they're going to answer you. But either way. Okay. And then he's going to answer you. Fine. He's going to meet with you on Tuesday at 3:30 for a cup of coffee. So now when you go in and you meet him, you're not going to start blurting out what you do. Hey, Chris, how you doing? Oh, last time, I met you at such and such place, such and such time, but we spoke about your son. He hurt his ankle. How's your son? Immediately have him start talking about his son, because that barrier is slowly but surely breaking down. Now, if you have a referral for him, that would be actually stupendous. But more times than not, you probably won't. But by now, he's going to ask you about what you do. So then you go through and you tell him, and you have a really nice cup of coffee. And you say, look, I'd really like to do business with you. How about this, that, or the other thing? And it's a slow call, a warm call. None of this wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Like 10 years ago, I had a friend who did something called money mailers, or coupons in the mail. And he walked in, he said, okay, look, listen, hi, how you doing? I'm Steve. Don't worry about it. Here's my card. I'm going to come talk to you later on. Never talk business. And he left. Now it's a warm call. And there's something to be said about that. But that's how you do it. Now, what was the original question you asked me?
Originally, it was going to be about using technology to leverage networking. And I think that lines up perfectly with the follow-up that you shared. So important.
It is. But after you go to your first networking event, it's exciting. You have all these business cards. What about your second one, third one, fourth one? It's going to happen 15, 30. All of a sudden, you can have 100 business cards. What are you going to do with it? So you have to invest in a CRM. A CRM is very, very important. I personally use HubSpot. I think it works best for me. But you put all of their information into your CRM and you put on a drip campaign. If they said yes, that's one set of emails. If they said maybe, that's another set. Or if they haven't answered you, that's a third set, and they're on a drip campaign. Okay. And they're different emails. You set them up, they go out different times. And you take everybody's name and email and you put it onto a mailing list. And you use Constant Contact or Monkey or whatever else that they have. And you create a newsletter and you send out that newsletter once a month, once a quarter, something else like that, because that just keeps your name and what you do in front of them. And, I used to do a newsletter all the time. And the newsletter that I had was a single page, had 6 different parts. 2 of them I put towards my business. The other 4, somebody's recipe, the joke of the day, different things like that, where people were excited about opening it, not for what I had to say, but for the other things. And you just have to keep them active. That's all.
That's so important. And I love how you just laid out what the buyer's journey essentially looks like from that initial unknown prospect phase into a lead, into friend or business partner or colleague that you are now nurturing this relationship. And all that, like you mentioned, built into a CRM, a customer relationship management. It's literally right in the name. Build that relationship. And now you need a system to help get out of your head and keep track of everything. And then you let the automation do the work based on their level of interest, and you're basically lead scoring them at that point. But it's up to you to provide value, be authentic, and share that to stay top of mind without being that pushy salesperson. Because nowadays, I mean, you can't even go to a gas station without having an ad right in front of your face. People don't want ads anymore. They want connections and relationships. Like,
That's right. Pretty soon ads are going to be all over the place. They're on the side of buses, they're at the gas station, and they're in the supermarkets. You see closed circuit TV. I went to pick up a bagel, and up on 2 monitors were advertisements. I'm like, what? Somebody thought that they would make some money in advertisement.
it is so crazy because since you mentioned that, the last Uber I got in, they had an iPad with an ad going during my ride. Okay, I get that. Just 3 days ago, I saw people with basically like a computer monitor set up on their head, and it's a walking advertisement. They just walk around places like parks and they have a computer screen. This is what the world is coming to. They think this is good marketing. They think this is good business, but unfortunately, this isn't the way that we should be building relationships.
It really isn't. That's for your quick clients. Okay, that's right. Oh, I need something like that, Alonzo. Okay, you're not going to build a relationship that way. And not only that, people really don't want to build a relationship that way. You're not going to meet a salesperson through a link like that. It's a sale. Okay, you want that salesperson, that touch, that physical touch, and hopefully you're up to it, and it'll go further.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Michael, you offer a wide range of services that bring value to others within their networking game. Where can people find out more about you and what you do, either social channels or books or places that they can learn more about you?
Well, I can be found on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. If you want to get to any of these, go to michael.com. There's a direct link for my book, Networking Unleashed. I have it right here. And you can even pick up an abridged version. I have an abridged version on my website. You don't pay for it. It's 100% free. If you want the full book, you pay like $14.95 for the book. But this is an unabridged version of my book. And you'll get the key points and how to network right from there. There's a contact form. Call me, contact me, send me that email. I'll get in contact with you within 24 hours later. And that's all about my keynotes, breakout sessions, workshops, one-on-one coaching, and I'm even doing virtual workshops. So whatever you need to have done, I can do it.
I love that. And we'll have the links available down in the show notes and the description so you can get in touch with Michael here. Michael, what is on the docket for 2024 for you? Any exciting or new ideas you're looking to launch or excited about in the next coming year?
Well, I have speaking engagements. I'm doing a lot of breakout sessions and keynote speeches. I'm going to conferences and summits and things like that. And I find that very exciting because I'm in a room with 50, 100, 200, 400 people, and I'm getting to interact with all of these people. And it's before and after the talk, that I get to really interact with them because people usually come up to me and say, here's my card, call me. You've got to come over here. You've got to talk to me over here. I'm like, okay, okay. So that's the exciting part. And that's what I have on the docket. And for 2025, more of the same.
I love it. It's exciting because you never know what you're going to come up with when you get so many great minds into one room and all that energy after the keynote speaker is done and you're kind of chatting and then there's just this energy and you put these minds together and suddenly you're networking, building new ideas and you're now helping their business and your business. Suddenly everyone is sharing these tips and tricks with each other. And Michael brings his special sauce, man. He wants to make sure that you can be successful and get to that next level. And I think at the foundation, the networking, the relationships, that authenticity, being genuine is at the heart of it.
That's what I'm looking for. It sounds so phony. It really does. Just to be kind, to be present, to be a human being. And if you see somebody and you walk up to them, say hi, how you doing? What's going on? You know, see if they're in trouble, see if they're not in trouble, see if you can network with them. It's not always business. Sometimes it's just being you and just be that person. And you'll see because you never know where your next business is going to come from. It may be somebody that person knows or that person themselves because you don't know who they are. That's it.
I love it. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. Any last wisdom, words of advice, anything that you maybe want to share with other entrepreneurs or wish you had learned sooner that would have helped you along in your journey?
Wish I learned everything I just told you 30 years ago.
Wouldn't that have been so much easier?
It would have been so much easier. Okay. But listen, just like anything else, practice, practice, practice. The first time you go out, it's not going to be good. The second time you go out, it'll be good, but it'll be better. You get better and better and better. Listen, I'm still learning. Everywhere that I talk, everywhere that I speak, I pick up something else. And that's the way I always wanted to be. I don't want to stop learning.
Absolutely, because there's new things that come through, new trends, new ideas. A lot of the foundation stays the same, but if there's a better way to do something or to be more effective or to build those relationships, you want to keep your ear to the ground and share that with others. Because who wants to be spinning their wheels, not gaining traction? People want to get results and get further, but in order to get more sales, you need to not focus on sales. And if people realize that, I feel like they could build better relationships and conversations.
Absolutely. You're 100% correct, Chris.
Well, hopefully, for those listening, you can take this advice and take some action from it. And for those who want to learn more and find more information, feel free to check out the links available down in the show notes. Michael, we appreciate you sharing all of your tips and tricks and your expertise here in this subject. Congratulations on all your past success, and so excited to see what the future holds for you.
Thank you. It was good to be here and I had a great time.
Thank you so much, Michael. We appreciate that. We'll see you soon.
Okay, good.